Okay, now we need to learn how to thread the top portion of your sewing machine. So before you do anything, you need to notice that there should be a hook, the thread take-up lever, on the left-hand side of this metal bar. So before you even start, can you all see this little hook? That's your thread take-up lever. If it is not in that top position, you can't see it at all. For example, it's clear down below and you don't see anything. You need to take your right hand on your hand wheel and you need to turn it towards you until you see that hook pop back up into the top position. So that's the first thing that we look for. Okay, so we know our hook is in the right place. So I'm going to come back over here to the right hand side of my machine and I'm going to make sure my antenna is up to hold my spool of thread. So I chose pink so it's a little bit easier for you to see than white. So I'm going to put on my spool of thread, and now your sewing machine is just a series of hooks. So I'm going to show you the top. The first hook is right here in the back. Okay, as long as you put the thread underneath this, it will catch it for you. You'll also notice that there's arrows on every part of your machine so you know where to go. So I'm going to take my thread and my very first hook, if you can see the thread, I'm just going to go underneath the hook and you'll notice that it catches. Okay, now my next arrow tells me I need to go down the front of the machine. So once that is hooked, I'm going to go down the very front of my machine, just like this, and around this metal bar, just like this arrow shows you to go around the metal bar. Do not cross it in front of the metal bar like this. Okay, if it's like this, you'll need to start over. So make sure you go all the way down, and just like the arrow shows, all the way around the metal bar with no strings across. Okay, now it's time for that little hook. You'll notice on the top of the machine, the arrow looks like a U-turn. So you're going to stay to the far right-hand side, following the groove, and around the back, just like a U-turn, and then around the left-hand side. Okay, I'm going to turn the machine just so you can see what that hook does. Okay, if you look in the hook, you'll notice that it is attached to the hook. So by going up around that U-turn groove, it will attach it into your hook. You do not need to try to feed it through the hook yourself. It does it for you. If by some chance you do the U-turn and it does not catch in this hook, try it again. Okay. So now we have gone down and around the U-turn and we have our hook. Being careful not to cross over this bar again, I'm going to come down to this horizontal metal bar that you see right here. Okay, you're going to take your thread and you're going to go behind that metal bar. You'll need to give it a little bit of pressure till it's behind there. Okay, you can wiggle it back and forth. Make sure it's in there snug. There's one more hook that we need to find before we go through the eye of the needle. And that sits right here at the top of the needle. It almost looks as thin as a pin, and it's just rounded right here. Okay, this will hold your thread to be in front of the needle so it stays tight. So you're going to go around the left-hand side with your finger and pop it behind this little thin bar. Okay? The last thing we need to do is go through the eye of the needle. If your needle is too low, turn the hand wheel towards you until it's in its highest position. You can also take your left hand around the back side to find that presser foot lifter lever. Carefully and gently lower the presser foot and it gives you more room to work with. Sometimes it's hard to see the eye of the needle, so as you're threading it, you can place your finger behind the needle so that you can easier see where the hole is. Okay? If the end of your thread, if you can see the end of this thread, I'll try to hold it still, it's frayed a little bit. That's going to be very hard to get through the eye. So you can take some fabric shears if you need to. Just cut off just the tip so we're not wasting thread. And now you have a nice blunt end. So I'm going to thread the eye of the needle. And and pull it through to the right hand side. Now you'll notice this thread is straight down in front of the needle. You do not want the thread to be wrapped around the needle. You're going to have major problems. Okay, at this point we need to make sure our presser foot is lifted up, otherwise we can't get our fabric under there to sew. So we need to lift up our presser foot, and then the top is done for now. Okay, so you're going to leave this right here on the right hand side.